Hi, good afternoon. We are excited to start our new webinar, Robotics Beyond the Classroom and Inspiring Career Skills in the Workplace. And I'm really excited to have Ellen Peterson from Gillette College with us today. And Ellen is going to join us and share some of her stories and her experiences as well. So let's just get all these things ready. I'm going to share a screen. So bear with me, getting all of these things. I think it's this one, this screen, and where's the PowerPoint? Hold on, people. Is that the one? Share and 1 moment. No, I think that is it. Let me just get the screen up. Okay.
Welcome to the Get your kite box ready. The tournament is about to begin, so grab your kite box with code, make sure it's locked in. Do a test run, gather your strength, move the code block and create your own chain. The walls are rising. Start your kite box. Ready, set, go!
Right, we are ready. So welcome, Ellen. And Ellen, share, if I just talk a little bit quickly about her role. Ellen is very, very experienced. She's from, like I said, Gillette College in Wyoming, a community college. I'm really interested to learn more about, the different sort of the community college and things like that, and her perspective on the connecting, how we get to those career paths for students. So again, quickly, Kai's Education, you may all know about us. We've got a Kai bot, we've got a Kai's Clan, and today we're looking at Kai's Clan, which is that grade 5 to 10. Please drop any questions in the chat. We've got our team on standby, and they're going to answer any questions that you may have. But, why after school programs? Ellen, over to you. Why do we need these?
So I think that they have. I think they have many purposes. So I'm the director of our community college makerspace in a town of about 30,000 people. But Wyoming is a very large land space with very few people. We have less than 1 million people in the entire state. That means that we have to make some of our own opportunities, and we have to build our own workforce. One of those things that our workforce and Gillette is for, Gillette's entire industry or entire economy is based off of coal mining and the oil industry that is here. And one of the things that we are seeing more than anything else is we can't get enough people to hire who have the skills that we want. So going through school, through high school, we can get kids hired right out of high school into some of our industries. But one of the reasons that we use the robotics and our after school program is our kids are, I don't want to say tested to death, but there it is. There's so many standards and there's so many things that are expected of the school teachers that coding has become kind of another subject area, and you get a grade for it and you assess these skills and you move on. And what I find is that when they come in here, whether they're on a field trip with us or whether they're in the after school programs we work with or the summer camp programs we work with, is I already know how to code, but none of them knows how to actually, none of the kids are really particularly good at the problem solving, the debugging, and the actually being able to apply the skills so they can write the code, but that's kind of where it stops. And so after school programs and summer camps and those sidebar programs that aren't school give kids the opportunity to have that creativity to be able to play with things and not have to worry about the grades and the standards and all the other stuff. Our industry partners here in Gillette, so right on our back lot of the makerspace is a huge international company, L&H Industrial, and they took a I want to say a serious interest in what we do here, and have even sponsored summer camps and programs for the kids because they are trying to grow that workforce. The kids who can problem solve, think outside the box, and then of course the soft skills that go along with the adventures in robotics. So
yeah, absolutely. So we don't want students just to walk into tomorrow's workforce and look like time travelers, from the 90s. They need to know more than just how do we Google stuff, and STEM skills isn't just about the coding, robotics, pardon me, and memorizing the periodic table anymore. They're sort of the new Swiss Army knife. They really have to pull out all sorts of skills. And I think some of those really important ones is, the core tech and those digital fluency. So, that coding and computational thinking, the data literacy, being able to interpret graphs, spreadsheets, dashboards. So, data isn't just numbers anymore. It's the story of a business, of a community. How do you do your TikTok stats? All the students want to know, how do we do that? So we really need to learn and master digital tools. And with engineering, like that design thinking and prototyping, sketch an idea, build the rough version, test it, tweak it. We can get those kind of prototypes out to market much quicker using, apps and electronics and robotics. But I think it's that systems thinking, looking at that bigger picture. And a warehouse, for example, a robot isn't just coding. It's actually the logistics, the mechanics, the sensors, and the data, that's sort of working all together. So, share with us, how do you sort of, for a class, how do you use it, sort of KaiSklan or any of your programs to really get that skill set up there?
Gotcha. So like I said, one of the big industries here is coal mining. We had the opportunity, and all of our students, generally speaking, have in one way or another gone out to the coal mines as part of a field trip. So they see the process of the coal being, unburied, dug out of the ground, put on haul trucks, carried off to be processed, and so forth. And that's an entire, like you said, it's that system thinking. It's an entire system of things. And there's some very old school parts to it, right? There's a shovel out there, or there's a machine out there that's digging into the ground. But then there are sensors on the trucks that tell us that the truck is full, that it weighs enough, that it's time to move on, which side of the road to be driving on, and all the rest of that. So one of the things that we've done with KaiSklan is kind of mirrored that opportunity for them for our students to develop. Hey, what do you think would happen if we added a robot or a self-driving truck? Because there's a law in Wyoming that says the coal mines can't operate with self-driving trucks. What do you think would happen if we added that self-driving truck? So therefore, we're programming KaiSklan to be able to do some of the jobs that people are currently doing. We happen to have, and this was one of those organic moments that as teachers you go, oh, yay! We happen to have a model robotic arm that we work with, a working robotic arm sitting in the classroom at the same time. And one of the students said, hey, that's like the digger for the drag line. So they brought that robotic arm down on that mat, and then we're integrating that into the process. And somebody in the group took charge of the group. So there's your foreman right there. He started going, well, that needs to be over there so that it can do this. It can, pick it up. And then if we get those, the little, what do you call a little 3D printed pieces?
Like the gripper object
the gripper objects. So if we make the gripper objects as part of so the robotic arm would pick up the gripper objects and move it across an obstacle that the robot or the truck itself couldn't access. And then the trucks would pick it up from there and then take it. Take it where I don't even remember, but they took it kind of all the way around the mat and kind of developed their own understanding of the way the coal mine works for them. Somebody was in charge. They had to talk to each other. They developed the system from what they already knew, and then the parts that they didn't know, they filled in. We're like, well, the coal has to get to the thing in order to be able to go here or there. So you got to see all of the creativity and the problem solving. And then somebody came over and went, no, it doesn't work like that. We need to put something in here. They completely ignored what was on the mat. and just developed their own system. It's one of the things that I appreciate about using Kai's Clan is it's incredibly versatile. And so we get the opportunity to be able to do lots of things with it. And that group actually got so the deal was on that, in that group, that they had to have, built the scenario that we were working with. And if they got successfully through that, then they could add the virtual reality headset to their arsenal of tools. And they actually got all the way there because they were motivated to figure it all out and then be able to even go back through it with the virtual reality headset. They enjoyed it a great deal. And now that same group, they see us about once a week during the school year. And I ran across a couple of those kids this summer in some other program, and they're like, we're going to get to play with Kai's Clan some more when we come back in the fall, right? Because we were thinking about this, and they had some other scenario that they were developing. And to be able to see that kind of creativity, that doesn't happen in a classroom. That happens in an after-school program or a summer camp or an opportunity for those kids to come on campus with us where they're not worried about the standards and the grades and the other stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, and those human skills, I mean, that's really that secret sauce, hey? And that's that collaboration, the communication, the creativity, innovation, where they come up with their own ideas. So yes, they can use, our learning portal, and there's over 100 lessons, and, you can do that structured learning if you really want to. But I love it when you open it up and say, okay, here's the mat. You can now actually go and create your own scenario, apply it to where you are. I know, like Bonnie in Fort Worth, she always talks about the industrial sites there. So they use a lot of factories. And they just really then play. We are going to look at the warehouse mat a little bit later, but we're just going to go through, a couple of things and, talk about it. But, Ellen, we met in the beginning. It was amazing. You were so enthusiastic. You had a lot of patience as well. We did that onboarding. And it is really important for us to really build these relationships with our teachers. I mean, you are the director of Area 59 in your makerspace and your community innovation hub. Ellen, I know you an extensive experience in the classroom, both elementary and middle school, where you develop that connection with the coding, the robotics, and really those real world applications. You've led initiatives like the Petersen Innovative Learning STEM Achievers Program. You're going to tell me a little bit more about that. You design curriculum, empower students to explore technology through other tools, not just Kai's Clan. We're not saying Kai's Clan is everything. Use the drones, use microbit. You can use microbit with Kai's Clan as well. But you are really, we call some of our school our lighthouse schools. We want to call you our lighthouse teacher, where you are so dedicated to making, STEM accessible and engaging for learners of all ages. But tell me a little bit more about that program. What is that?
The Verizon Innovative Learning STEM Achievers Program.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, somebody's. There we go. Sorry, office phone. So there is a national program sponsored with a grant through Verizon. It's called the Verizon Innovative Learning STEM Achievers Program. There are a series of campuses, 46 of them across the United States, in a variety of spaces. And they have written, working with ASU, they've written a curriculum, an opportunity for folks to get exposure to technology. And in that program, we've worked with microbits. We work with Sphero pretty extensively. We've added Codrones this year. Codrone EDU is a fabulous little tool, excuse me. 3D printing and modeling, and then prototyping and other pieces and parts. Verizon pays for the whole thing and gives students the opportunity to come for free. So I started out as an instructor in that program when I lived back east. I moved west, and I got the job here at the community college that gave me the opportunity to bring that program here to our campus, and now I get to be the director of that program. But it's the same kind of thing as far as it's got the same goal of exposing the kids that digital literacy. I really like that term. exposing them to technology. And we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that, if you've even watched how quickly artificial intelligence has exploded in the past year, right? It's gone from, we don't think we're going to use that, to you don't have any choice but to know how. In just a year, that the technology that we're working with right now, it's not the technology that they're going to grow up and use. But it's the ability to actually be able to use those tools and think about adapting them to your everyday stuff, your everyday activities and tasks that make somebody a good employee and make them career ready to be able to go. So I have 2 full-time employees that work here, and then I have 3 student employees that work here. And it's the same thing. We're showing them technology and trying to figure out how to use it to make our lives more efficient and more productive. I think students coming out of the school system need those same skills, because technology is changing faster than we're going to be able to teach it. You don't buy it before it's already outdated. So,
and I think we need to work closer together with businesses as well. Let businesses come into the school, let them sponsor some programs. I often feel, teachers often say, oh, we don't have money. I think you go to to the mine or to a factory and say, hey, how about we go 50-50 and see how we can actually prepare the students that can then walk into your workplace, and they are sort of, I won't say they're experts, but they know a little bit more about the industry. And I think it's super, super important to really engage and talk to those economic workplace, organizations, and see how you can get them involved in your school as well.
Yeah. So we work with an organization that's a small business development center, and we work with our state organization for CTE education. And then we work with our industry partners, because they have a seat at the table at our advisory board at the college. All of those people come together to dictate where the programs are headed. And one of the things that we've discovered is that organizations like here in Gillette, that's L&H Industrial or Caterpillar or Sulzer or Komatsu, all of these really big mining equipment companies are really interested in what we're doing here, because they're like, those guys are only 8, 9, 10 years old. But nowadays you make the decision about the track that you're going to follow by the time you're a freshman in high school, right? Because if you don't take these classes, then you can't get to that class, and then you can't get out and go to whatever school you want to go to or what have you. And they've suddenly taken a very big interest in what we do here, because they're like, hey, if we start introducing them to these concepts now, then when they are ready to start making those decisions about where they're headed, they're aware of what their options are, and they've developed the skills that we want to see in our programs and the training programs. And you had mentioned something about community college versus a regular university. Essentially, in Wyoming, we have one single 4-year university. It's at the University of Wyoming, which is clear across the state from us. And it's a long, cold, slippery drive in the winter. Community colleges have kind of taken on the role as the go-betweens or the technical education centers. And so our college has a welding program and an industrial electrical program, a diesel program, like diesel mechanic and technology, and I'm missing one, machining. And those 4 programs were dictated by the fact that what our community does is mining and oil. And so those programs grew up because of the industries in the area going, we need more machinists. And so the college went, we'll do a machining program. Those people now are asking us as the makerspace and working with the after school programs and even working with the school district, they're asking us to get kids ready to go in that direction. And they're asking us with their dollars. They're giving us the money. We had L&H who sponsored an entire week of summer camp for a group of kids for free. If they would do the coding and the robotics and the problem solving that went with it. So you're right. I think the industry partners are a huge piece of what matters, and it's community based. So it matters to the people here in Gillette. These programs wouldn't be the same if I were in, Orlando, Florida or someplace. So.
Yeah, no, well, that's amazing. Okay, so let's have a look a bit of what does Clan look like. Okay, so here we can see on the mat, I've got my warehouse mat, I've got my robots, I've just got the top view, and I think I can get another view. Oh, that's going to be my iPad that I'm going to come to, and here's my side view. So very, very quickly, we're not going to do in detail. You go onto your YouTube channel. There's lots of webinars, lots of things about how does it all work. But we basically have our little robots. You can open and close the grippers. You can pick up things. Creativity comes in. You can see all these QR codes. What that means is you can see the exact XY coordinates on the mat. So you can say to your robot, drive to the shipping area and go and pick things up. But instead of just having a little block, you're like, what is this block? You can go into Minecraft and Tinkercad, and you can go and create your own robot avatars. So I am just going to share. Let's see if I can do this now. Okay, so this is what the platform sort of look like. Here you can see I've got three robots on it. I've got this object here. My code, I can do this in Blockly. It's like you move your X, Y. You've got a bit of, if you go to your expert, I love this when we say, okay, well, we've got a little bit of AI. You can sort of, drive to the sorting area. We've got sensors. I love the bit, the box of magic that I call them. So we've got 28 different sensors that you can use, including that microbits as well. But I think the really fun thing is what we see is where you have this mat, you can now also see it in the virtual world. And what that means, I'm just going to move this around here. What that means is if I drive my robot, say for instance, I'm going to go robot 8, I want you to maybe start here, which is 6 and 22. So we're going to go 6 and we're just going to go 22. And then what I want you to do, I'm just going to do something here. We're going to move to this little block, and that's going to be robot 8. And you can do this in Blockly or in Python. I love it that we can start introducing Python as well. But we're going to just start with Blockly because that's not my expertise. It's not Blockly. And then instead of saying, what is this position? I can go and see what's this block position. But I can actually go and take the position of that block. So if I go the position of that 113 block, I want to stop. I'm going to maybe stop, say, 9 centimeters. Then what I need to do, I need to open up these fancy dancy grippers on robot 8. They're going to go open. And then I probably need to move forward just slightly so I can get in there. Just going to do this one code. Maybe move forward only about 6 or maybe about 5 centimeters. Do a bit of a guessing. And then I'm just going to close my gripper. So let's just do this. And then what you're going to see, you're going to be able to see it on here. And you're also going to see it on the iPad. So now I need to see, how do I do that? Hold on. I think I need to unshare. So let me just unshare. There we go. So I've actually got my iPad here. And I'm just going to on a separate device. So you can then walk around with an iPad, or you can code this on your desktop as well. That's not a problem. You can also see the augmented reality that you can do when you walk around the mat. Or if you've got MetaQuest headsets, you can also see the virtual reality. And you can actually control your robots if you've got a MetaQuest 3. So really, really cool. So here you'll see, just here's my mat. So that's the same one that I've just showed you. Now what I like to see is I actually like to see my mat underneath. Just makes it a little bit easier for me. So now if I actually click on that robot, that's my robot 8. So if I move him, I'm just going to move him by hand. You're going to see he is going to drive around. We're going to close his grippers because that's how he's going to start off with. And if I now run my code, which I'm just going to do over here, run the code. It's going to be a little bit delayed. You will see he is going to drive. There we go. And you can see in my virtual world, there he's driving. Just going to move him over here. He is going to come back to that block. If I actually show my other camera, you're going to see there he is. Got my iPad sort of there. And he has now picked up that block. So there's all sorts of it. Instead of a rubbish truck that you can do, that can be your mine machine that have to go and pick up the things. Or this can be, you know, your digger that you have to go and drive around. So, you know, really on the mat, just got my iPad here, you drive around and you then start communicating. And Kaisla is all about collaboration. So it's not a one-on-one. This is really where you have those team things. And, you know, one team, maybe 3 or 4 students, and the one student can be looking after all the creative elements. So he can do the sandbox or the animations. He can create on Minecraft or Tinkercad. Student 2, that's maybe when you want to do that whole box of magic. This is my box of magic. I always say, and there's the bunny. You know, we've got 28 things. There's a water pump. I've heard a school yesterday that said they're doing smart gardens again. I love that. Where you can then look at that data and then use the physical, the real data information and let that do something in that virtual world. You know, maybe you plant a tree and now when you water it, it's going to grow bigger in the virtual world. So there is really so much that you can do with Kai's Clan. And then in case people didn't know, this is what I want to show. We're going to go back. So now you saw this looks very much like the mat that you have seen. But Ellen, did you know that you can go into theme and choose another theme? And this is going to load, hopefully load. A little bit slow because we're on the Zoom. And it's actually going to give you a KaiBot factory. So now you have to drive around and you actually have to build your own little robots. And when you are successful, the drone will come and pick it up and take it out. And if you make mistakes, you know, it's going to actually go back into the furnace. So it's sort of real world little scenarios that you can do. And I just love that about Kai's Clan. But let's get back to, I want to get back to my entire screen. Hold on. I want to go entire screen. That one, share. There we go. Okay, so let's get back onto the slide deck. So yes, I've talked about all of those. Python, pretty powerful, jumping backwards and forwards. You know, and again, we come back that inspiring those career skills. You know, employers want more than just grades. They want kids to be able to have that lateral thinking, that critical thinking, and just thinking outside the box. And that brings me back to also neurodiverse students. Ellen, have you got any thoughts on, you know, neurodiverse students and how do we bring them back into the classroom engaged?
So one of the things that happens in the Verizon program that we oversee, or that I oversee, is we get all kinds. They come in. We had several of our students this summer who somewhere on the autism spectrum, some more high functioning than others, and definitely social skills becomes an issue. And so one of the things that we're able to do with the robotics is assign specific tasks, right? You either play to strengths. This young man is particularly good at coding, so let him do that job. His teammates turn and look at him now and go, "You're really an expert on this." So he gets to interact with the team in a pretty positive way. And then we've got somebody over here who's maybe he's not so good at the coding, but he's really good at the designing things in Minecraft. And so pulling those pieces in, and they're part of the team. And then the kids who are neurotypical get the opportunity to have to figure out how to work with the neurodiversity staff or the kids, the other students. And so it's kind of that social skills learning lesson for everybody involved. But it gives you a chance to be able to break things into tasks that allow you to set your students up for success.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, we talked about how you do, those stories that, you're bringing the kids into the classroom and then let them do those real world scenarios, real world skills that they do. Have you got a story of a student or a group that they've done something and you're just like, wow, they got it. It was like a light bulb moment in the classroom.
Believe it or not, we had a group of second graders, so second graders, 7-year-olds. We were working with machines. We were kind of teaching a lesson on machines versus people and efficiency. Why we have machines do some jobs while people are better at other jobs. We had a young man in that group who was we were doing a race with a children's drill, so a plastic toy, versus somebody who was using just a hand turning screwdriver. And you go up to the toy, you screw the screw in, and then you put your tool down, and you're like, yeah, I was faster. And almost always the electric drill is faster, kind of thing. And so this one little guy, after he didn't win the relay, he put his tool down and he goes, yeah, but I don't want to be the one who's holding the tool. You could see kind of the wheels turning in his head. He's like, I want to be able to be the one who has to solve the problems or something along those lines, where, the tool doing the job, again, we had the robotic arm out there. The tool doing the job is kind of the reason the tool's doing it is because he's boring and repetitive and he can't really do anything else. He can't solve any problems that happen. He goes, but you're still going to need a person. And this is what the part that stuck out in my mind. You're still going to need a person who's going to be able to untangle the problems that happen with anything. So a person has to tell the machine what exactly to do. And then when it doesn't work the right way, somebody's going to have to be able to figure out how to fix it so it is working the right way. You could see the kind of the lights go on and he goes, that's why my dad wants to be the boss. And he was right on the money, right? You don't want to be the one who's sitting there. The only thing that you know how to do is, turn the screw. Okay, next machine, turn the screw. Next machine, turn the screw. Yeah, at least you hope that's not where you want to wind up after, putting in all of those work years. You want to actually be able to go, this is what I created. This is what I'm proud of.
Yeah, and that's where automation comes in. We're not going to avoid it. It is everywhere. The robotics, people say, oh, is robotics going to take over? They're already there. They're not taking over, but it is. You still need to feed it. You still need to tell him how to work it. So, when we were talking about, the with Kai's clan and stuff, like if it's the warehouse and it's you teaching logistics, or the water cycle mat, where you can talk about how the water flow and that whole water cycle is working. We really try and look at what are those programs that's out there that we need to prepare, and something that is really, it's probably just more of a personal passion hobby for me is a little bit around space. Watching SpaceX yesterday taking off and land. Oh my gosh, isn't that just amazing? I mean, I know, maybe people in Orlando that see these rockets go up all the time, for them it's just, oh yeah, it's another rocket. I've got a friend.
So I grew up in Orlando, Florida. It was never just another rocket. I was 10, 11 years old when the space shuttle system came on board. And so every time one of those took off, we were outside the classroom watching for that to happen. It's amazing.
And I think I met a girl a couple of weekends ago, and we were at this conference and she stood up. And it really just hit to me, because I'm also very much, hey, we need to get girls into, tech careers and things like that. And we can all do it. But she stood up in front of, I don't know, there were about 60 of us. And she said, hi, my name is Flavia and I'm a rocket scientist. And I'm like, what? And it felt like I was like this nobody in front of her. And they build satellites out of Adelaide in Australia and they send it off, and it's about mining. They really look at the crust of the earth to not just keep drilling holes. And it's got this whole environmental effect and impact around it, because they don't want to just keep drilling holes. They want to now start seeing, well, where is the minerals? And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And then she said, and we don't want to do this on Mars. When we get to Mars, we don't want to go and just dig holes everywhere into Mars. So if we can create the technology. And I was absolutely fascinated, and I said to her afterwards, I said, how did it start? She said, well, I was lying outside when I was 5 years old, looking at the stars and thinking, will I get there one day? And she's a woman, and she's done it. So, I'm always saying, we can really do whatever we dream we can do, and we really need to encourage everybody. So coming back to a little bit more, we talked a bit about the neurodiverse students, and, often there is these underserved communities, and they don't have all the same, programs and stuff in the schools. And we're really doing a lot of disservice to our students. So, tell me a little bit, what do you, the difference of, obviously in the community, in the school, they follow the curriculum, like you say, tick the boxes, which is a little bit sad as well, but I understand we need to do it. But give me an example of sort of after school. So say you've got an hour, what would you do with the students?
So that would depend seriously on whether this was a group that was going to come back again, if they're a repeating group, or if they're just a one-time 1 hour exploration. What I would do if I knew I was going to get them back, and I would see them over several weeks, like maybe 6 weeks in a row, once a week on Wednesday for an hour, would look a little different, but I would still start in the same place. And that would be here's the robot, here's generally how to work it, and now go play with it. So that's been my approach in the classroom as well. Here's the technology. Let's play with it a little bit, because honestly, they're not listening to me. They don't hear me because they just want to get their hands on that equipment. And so the first thing that I let them do is get their hands on that equipment until they've satisfied their curiosity a little bit about how it works, what they can do with it, what's cool with it. Do they know how to work it? Or is this just another lame toy that, only does it one thing and then moves on? And in that hour, kind of give them some direction for, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? In particular, so working with KaiBot, the little square robot. We had the tiles out on the table. We had the programming cards out on the table. We had the robot out on the table. And then we said, I wonder how this works. And let them discover, I know you code it, you tell it to go forward. Well, but if you don't start the program, you can't go forward, right? So kind of letting them make those discoveries. When they make those discoveries, they own it. If that's an hour that they get to just play with the technology, they've developed a confidence and a comfortableness with the technology that leads to that digital literacy. If I know they're coming back, if it's the same group that I've got like 6 weeks in a row, I still start that way, but then I also develop an opportunity for them to kind of scaffold, give them a scaffold for something to build on. Well, now that you can do this, what about this? So you guys are interested in developing your own theme park. That's kind of cool. How would you lay out the sidewalk at the theme park so that you would have the most efficient route to get all the way around the park? While we're at it, hey, why don't we design a couple of things attractions that we would put in the park? And so we kind of build from there and build on their skills. If I have to give direct instruction for how to do something, it's I do, then you do. So you've got it in your hand. Follow what I do. I'm going to say, start the program, and then I'm going to tell it what to do, and then I'm going to run it and see, and then problem solve it. But it really is very dependent upon the group that I've got.
I love hearing that, because the last webinar we spoke to Mitzi, and it was about that F word, the failure, and learning about it. And I hear it so often. We still have, and I find it really sad, is teachers sort of having this fear that not, we've got this kit, and it's been sitting in the classroom in my cupboard for a month because I haven't had a chance to learn it and understand it. I'm like, give it to the students. Oh, no, they don't know how to code. I'm like, they're going to get it much quicker. How do we get that message across?
That's actually how I left this. So I taught science for a very long time. And that was the first step I took out of the science classroom. I was a fairly accomplished grant writer at the time, and my school came to me and said, write a grant for a 3D printer. And I went, okay, wrote the grant, won the grant, got the 3D printer. They brought it down to my classroom. They put it on my counter and they went, here you go. What do I do with this? It's a 3D printer. You wrote the grant for it. Now you have to figure out how to use it. So it literally sat on my back counter in my classroom for probably a month when I had 3 little guys, and they were 6th graders then. They're very successful, not 6th graders anymore, that came in one day after school and like, you ask her, no, you ask her, the kind of the pushing and shoving, like, I don't want to ask her, you ask her. Is that a 3D printer? Yes. Are we going to use it? Well, I have to figure out how to use it before we can use it. Well, when do you think that will be? Well, at the current rate of grading papers, never. And so the one of them pipes up, well, can we figure out how to use it? So we arranged just after school one afternoon, and me just supervising the 3 of them, took it out of the box, got it up and running. Essentially, one little guy, Alexander, says, we now have essentially a mini manufacturing plant in our classroom with a 3D printing. And I was like, well, how are we going to use this? And they took the lead on it, and they said, well, why don't we use it when we're studying, like in the middle of our space unit, like to build rockets or something. They took the lead. I had to follow. Unfortunately, when they left my building, because my building ended at 6th grade, I still hadn't learned how to use the printer. And my next class was going, I heard you have a printer. So now I'm in the quandary. I had to learn how to use it, and it became an integral tool in the classroom. And it traveled with me when I moved on up to the bigger kids, when I was working with the 7th and 8th graders. And then it became a fight over who gets to use the printer and how we can use it in the science classroom and so on. So we moved out. I actually wound up teaching in a STEM lab after that, because they were like, well, you figured out how to use a 3D printer. Here's like 10 more things that we'd love for you to learn how to use and then teach us. The kids can take the lead on it, easily take the lead on it. And they are going to discover things that are way more creative than you're trying to keep it within the little boundaries of your curriculum.
Yeah. And I know Eden Prairie, they did the same last week or a couple of weeks ago, where the students were teaching the teachers, and I could just hear, just imagine a kid coming home in the afternoon and say, Mom, I taught my teacher something, isn't that just the most, that will stay with them for the rest of their lives, that they actually knew more. It doesn't matter that the teacher's been so busy with everything else. It's just that impact, what that's made to that student, it's fantastic.
Well, you just turned that kid into a rock star in the classroom. You just made that kid an expert in front of his peers, right? So if he can teach it, then in the classroom, and this happened with the 3D printer, it became, hey, I'm ready to print. I'd be like, well, go see Alexander or Charlie or Jonah, because they know how to do it. And they can't do what I'm doing, but they can teach you what they're doing. And it became okay, so they'd get together with those kids and they'd move forward from there. That was probably one of the most successful projects I've ever done in the classroom, and I wasn't in charge of it.
Yeah. And I think that's the same, like even here, Bruce, co-founder, he created all these products, he made it, and it was his vision, and I know, like, when he was growing up, he took everything apart in his mom's house, and he was driving his mother, crazy, because he would like, okay, well, here's the toaster in 45 pieces. And she would like, put the thing back together. And he would put in like, oh, Mom, I've got some screws left. And like, so it's that curiosity and, of kids that we really, really need to embrace and just build it, because we don't all have to be lawyers. I mean, lawyers, you need to problem solve as well. And I've got nothing against lawyers. We really need them. But, I think the skills of what the world, what they're going to be in 10 years time, 20 years time, it's absolutely amazing, the jobs that we're going to have to create, and that's going to be there for them. So it is all about, the engagement. I would love, I know there's a couple of people on the thing. I would love just to, if you can put in the chat, Just really which career skills is the most important to your students. I would love to know, is it in the I'm going to become a teacher, or I want to be a lawyer, or I am going to be the next rocket scientist, because I think the careers out there, there's such a wide choice, but we have to bring the industry into the classroom, because too many kids are here, I want to do TikTok, or I want to play games. Now, there's a place for that. I'm not saying that is wrong. There's people that make a lot of money that play games professionally. But there is more to it, and I think we really need to get those little engineers and mathematicians and the techno geeks out there, and they're going to create a much, much greater world for us. So we're coming to quite close to the end. Just to remind anybody that's out there, we do have the Kai Starter program. You can sort of try it before you buy it. So if you are interested, please reach out to us. And also we've got the Space Race program that's still going until the end of the year. So if you want to know more, reach out to us. You can just email me or Nikki, or just jump onto the website. We've got the new learning portal where all the lesson plans is. That's just learn.kaiseducation.com. And really, I would love, talk to your local businesses that's around you and get them involved in what you are doing, because you're building the next generation for them, for that workplace. That is sort of, if you want to join me on LinkedIn, please do. I try and write some blogs. I've put out a challenge yesterday. Anybody jump on it. It's for KaiBot, for Conundrum. Get those little coders and see who can solve the problem. So there's a little challenge. Ellen, anything else from your side?
So if we're looking at teachers who are trying to implement technology into their classroom, my best thing that I would say is just do it. Jump in, decide what your thing is going to be, and play with it. That's going to be the quickest way to figure out how it works. You're never going to be prepared for everything that can go wrong in your classroom with technology until you get the technology out and play with it.
Absolutely. And I would really think, if I think about careers that's out there, I think emerging future-proof skills, and I did put this into our ChatGPT as well, and I said, what are the emerging future-proof skills? And it came back with 3 things, and I think it's really, really interesting. So AI and automation literacy. So it's not just how to use chat, but it's how to work with AI responsibly. The second thing is cybersecurity awareness. Every job touches digital security now. Even teachers, doctors, you all need to understand cybersecurity. And then the last one is that global citizenship. Cross-cultural teamwork, ethical decision-making, and awareness of global tech trends. I think all those are super, super important. And then I want to thank everybody that has joined. Ellen, thank you so much. And my last little message is, let's look out for our world. We've only got one of them. Protect the world and look after our climate, and make sure that we really teach kids to become a better self of what they can be. So thank you very much, Ellen. Really enjoyed talking to you. And please follow us on all the channels at Kai's Education. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.